Welcome to today's Explainer. Get ready because we're diving into a story about a word that is, well, surprisingly tricky. You might think you already know all the tough words out there, but today's tale is going to turn absolutely everything we know about difficult words completely upside down.
I want you to put on your thinking caps for a quick second. What do you guys actually think is the hardest word in the world to say? I mean, is it some gigantic science word with 100 letters? A magical spell from a storybook, maybe? Or even a word in a completely different language? Well, keep your guesses locked right there in your brain, because the answer is going to absolutely shock you.
Section 1, the hardest word to say. A trick question? So let me introduce you to a boy named Romy. Now, Romy thinks long, complicated words are literally the only hard ones to say. Imagine a super cozy evening. Romy is sitting by a warm, crackling fireplace with his dad, and he is getting just super frustrated. He's trying to pronounce the name of a massive Mexican volcano. The name is Popocatépetl. Yeah, try saying that 3 times fast. Popocatépetl. He's struggling, complaining about why geography is to have such hard names. But his father just smiles and gives him this riddle. He says, I know one little word with only 2 letters in it that very few people can actually speak. Look at the amazing contrast here. Over on one side, we have Popocatépetl, a gigantic, rumbling volcano of a word. And right next to it, a tiny 2-letter word, N-O. No. Romy and his sister Jane think their dad is totally joking. Like, how could no possibly be the hardest word in the whole world? Romy brags that he can always say it, as easily as breathing. But his father gives him a kind of spooky warning. He tells him, it might seem easy tonight, but tomorrow, it might be impossible. Section 2. The Frozen Pond Temptation. A dangerous allure. The very next day, a real-world test arrives. Overnight, the weather got incredibly cold. The story describes how Mr. Frost had been busy working his freezing winter magic. He actually turned the deep pond near Romy's school into smooth, beautiful crystals of ice. Now, a crystal of ice is just a clear, small particle of frozen water, but when millions of them lock together, they disguise a dangerous, deep pond into something that looks as smooth and safe as glass. That morning, looking out at those freezing, snowy peaks, Romy felt 10 feet tall. He marched off to school proudly, whispering Popocatépetl to himself. He felt like a total superhero because he mastered that huge volcano word. But he was completely blind to the invisible, far more dangerous challenge waiting just around the corner. Section 3. Peer Pressure on Ice. The temptation begins. Right after school lets out, Romy's friends Harry and Brick excitedly run over to the frozen pond. They want to slide and skate, and they enthusiastically invite Romy to join in. But look closely at Romy here on the edge of the pond. He's hesitating. He's really nervous. Why? Well, because the pond had only been frozen for a single night, and his father had made a very strict rule. No going on the ice without permission. He knows it's unsafe. But his friends are already out there sliding around and having an absolute blast. When Romy tries to make excuses, the other boys bring out a very heavy, hurtful word. That word is coward. A coward is someone who is faint-hearted or easily frightened. The boys are using this word like a cartoon villain's weapon, specifically poking at Romy's pride just to make him feel bad about following the rules. Brick looks right at him and says, in this really teasing, mocking voice, I know why Romy won't go. He's a coward. That's the reason he won't come. Aw, man. You can hear exactly what peer pressure sounds like right there. It's teasing, it's loud, and it is totally designed to make you feel tiny if you don't go along with the crowd. Section 4. Breaking the ice. A foolish risk. Romy was so proud, he just couldn't stand being teased like that. He yelled, I am not afraid. And he ran right out onto that dangerous thin ice to prove them wrong. Let's break down this bad decision step by step. Step 1 is the temptation. The ice looks super fun, and everyone else is doing it. Step 2 is the peer pressure. Getting called a coward really attacks his feelings. And step 3 is the bad choice. He completely ignores his dad's strict safety rule just to fit in. This is literally the ultimate recipe for trouble. And trouble happens fast. Suddenly, there is a terrifying cry. The ice has broken! Romy and 2 other boys crash right through the freezing glass surface into the icy deep water. Luckily, a brave teacher hears the noise, sprints over, tears heavy wooden boards right off a nearby fence and shoves them out onto the ice to drag the shivering boys to safety.
It was a terribly close call. Section 5. The Lesson by the Fire. Learning from mistakes. Romy is brought home safely, completely soaked and shivering. His parents get him warm and comfortable, but that evening, it's time for a very important family meeting by that same cozy fireplace. His dad asks, "How did you come to disobey me?" Romy admits the truth. He says the boys didn't force him or drag him on the ice. He says, "I was going to say no, but they called me a coward, and I couldn't stand that." This leads to a massive, powerful realization from his dad. Look at this quote. "And so you found it easier to disobey me and run the risk of losing your life than to say that little word you thought so easy last night. You could not say no." Wow. Romy literally risked falling into a freezing pond forever just to avoid saying a tiny two-letter word to his friends. Section 6. The courage to say no. A valuable lesson. This is the exact moment a massive light bulb goes off in Romy's head. He finally understands his dad's riddle. He realizes that saying no isn't hard because it has complicated, tongue-twisting sounds like Popocatépetl. It's the hardest word in the world because it requires real, superhero-level courage. It takes incredible bravery to put up your shield, stand up to your friends, face being teased, and actually do the right thing when everyone else is doing the wrong thing. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from our story's value pick. Saying no often takes more courage than it seems, especially when standing up to peer pressure. But here is the amazing news. Just like any tricky video game level or a brand new sport, the more you practice saying it, the easier it gets. Romy learned this lesson the hard way, but he definitely remembered it. And over time, he learned to say that tiny, powerful word whenever he needed to, without breaking a sweat. So I'm going to leave you guys with this challenge. The next time someone dares you to do something you know is wrong or tries to tease you into making a bad choice, will you have the true bravery to stand tall? Will you have the courage to say the hardest word in the world? I know you will. Thanks for exploring this amazing story with me, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.